quick video, a bit of an add-on to one that I made back in 2017, 5 years ago, and I believe it was titled something along the lines of Empaths. Are you empathic? Guidance for sensitive souls. Well, I wanted to write ultra-empathic, and I feel that even now. It's funny because people will come up to me all the time in the spiritual community and they're like, well, I'm an empath. And I'm like, well, join the community, because every single solitary one of us is an empath. Some have just either chosen or in some sort of psychic protection gone through the action to shut our awareness of that off. We're all empaths, every single one of us. Some of us are ultra hyper aware. One of those things people will often say is, you know, oh, I'm feeling the weight of the world. Well, you're going to feel a lot, and what you're really feeling isn't the weight of the world. What you're feeling is what the weight of the world is resonating that's already within you. People can push your buttons. They're still your buttons. They didn't install them. There's a really big piece of insight in that. And I gave a story in that last video. I'll sort of bring that up to date about my son Mike. Mikey was this, you know, he was just skinny little, really skinny little, not overly short, but little boy, you know, at the age of 8, 9, 10. And in one of his classrooms, I'm thinking it was 3rd grade, he had a teacher who was nearing tenure. It was her last year, so she didn't really seem to care too much about things, and she was being kind of intense with some of the students. Mikey is an empath. Mikey feels on a really deep level. In truth, all of our kids are, and we really do foster that, even at some times when it seems like being an empath almost goes hand in hand with suffering. Just realize that suffering, our suffering, is always in 100% direct proportion to our resistance. Feeling the intensity, even the word intensity is a bit of a judgment in that sense, but feeling that weight, feeling that electromagnetism, the gravity of what's happening for humanity in the physical realms right now, feeling that is kind of a given. Our resistance of it is what creates the suffering. Well, Mikey had an experience, I believe in 3rd grade, where he brought some Yu-Gi-Oh cards to school, and his teacher saw them. And she came up and she took the cards from him, and Mikey, of course, started crying because they were a very sacred object to him. And she decided it was a good idea to, her name was Mrs. Smith, to invite Michael, excuse me, up to the front of the room and said, Michael, would you come up to the front of the room, please? Mikey came up and she said, would you please turn and face the class? He turned and faced the class, and she said, do you all see Mikey crying? And the class shook their head yes, and she said, now I want you all to laugh at him. You breathing right now? What are you feeling? You're not just feeling that suffering that Mikey felt, you're also feeling what that resonates within you. Welcome to the life of an empath. Well, after that point, Mikey, he also had an interesting experience right after that, where he actually had the bus driver that he had, her name was Mrs. Pace, was taking things from a lot of the kids in the school, and I mean, or at least on the bus, and she took some things of his and some other kids. Mikey all of a sudden became a pack rat, and he would collect empty bottles, cans, plates, old rotten things. He was afraid to let go of them on so many levels. He's so much better now. He's now, the tiny skinny boy is now a 6'5" bundle of love. He's a huge teddy bear, just like my dad was a shorter version of a teddy bear. But realize that when you are feeling that intensity, rather than saying, oh, I'm an empath and it just goes with it, blah, blah, we're all empaths, okay? There's no specialness in that. There's no crown that you wear. Realize that what's most important is when you are that deeply self-aware, that you know how to reduce entropy in the system, which is the second law of thermodynamics. That kind of like other videos where I say about when a car is doing 90 miles an hour, it matters a lot how much entropy is in the system, how much resistance is in, because the system's either going to break down or it will, if willingness is there, be aware of the rise and fall of the breath, it will bump up beyond that evolutionary moment of truth and begin to function at a whole new level of, literally, of mechanism, of being able to move fluidly once it gets past the intensity of that resistance. And that's your choice. Again, our suffering is always 100% direct proportion, in 100% direct proportion to our resistance. And with the state of the way the world's looking right now, that's really, really important. Remember that. The choice is yours. I love you all so, so dearly.